Omnia brings you the mass hypnosis in science and the true concept of the atom.
Hi, welcome to this new series of what we're calling the mass hypnosis of science. And in this video, we're going to show you a really interesting experiment. And we pinched it from YouTube, and it demonstrates what we call the mass hypnosis of science. And this is one of my favorite phrases from Dr Ilija Lakicevic, the inventor of the Omnia Radiation Balancer. And what we mean by this is it's an instance where an intelligent person, a scientist, has been told a principle for so long in so many different forms that it becomes the only thing that they can see. So they do an experiment, put it on YouTube, and explain what they see in a physics textbook, from a physics textbook. But actually what we see is something completely different. But they've been so programmed that they can't see it. So today, what we're going to look at involves one of the most fundamental concepts of the whole of science, which is the true concept of the atom itself, the foundation of all creation. And we're going to show you a demo of what a scientist thinks is an electron moving down a tube filled with gas. But actually, what we see is something very different. And as a result of this challenges the whole model of particle physics, the whole understanding that's in our textbooks. So that's my introduction. We are joined today by the one and only Dr Ilija Lakicevic. As I said, he invented the Omnia Radiation Balancer, and he has a concept coming out called, a paper coming out called The True Concept of the Atom. And in that, he explains how atoms truly behave, what the true concepts are behind the whole of creation. Welcome, Laki. So what I'm going to ask you to do first of all is comment on what we're going to look at today.
Okay, thank you, my brother Tim. I'm lucky of free sovereign domain, and I have succeeded to dehypnotize myself. So this series will be not only about scientific hypnosis, but about the therapy, the dehypnotization. So I'm very glad to share my experience and my knowledge, because I love science. That is my sole passion, and I love scientists, and I see the huge potential in the official science to make one wonderful civilization if the right concepts will be accepted in the science. So my contention is that all concepts in the official science are incorrect due to the deception of human senses, and that is not understood. And since knowledge in the official science is based on observation and measurements rather than on theories, and sometimes even the observations are not done correctly and not interpreted correctly, but put in the scope of the general scientific hypnosis with the wrong concepts. So what we are going to explain today and to show what is measured and seen in the experiment and how it is wrongly interpreted. So here we have a vacuum tube evacuated and filled with some working gas, and two electrodes are attached to it. On the left side you see negative electrode cathode, on the right side positive electrode anode. And now when you attach the potential to these two electrodes, there will be difference in potential, and current officially will be moved from the cathode to the electrode. Electric current is understood as negative charged particles, which are electrons, emerging from the hot cathode, minus electrode, and moving to the plus cathode anode. And you can show the next slide, Tim. So that officially the model you have shown here, the official model of the atom with the nucleus, protons and neutrons, positive charge particles and neutral particles in the nucleus, and negative charge particles, electrons moving, cycling around it. That is official Bohr-Rutherford model, but we will see later that it has nothing to do with the truth. If that official model were true, we would see, go to the next slide. Yeah, we would see balls, like a spheres, like a balls of the negative charge particles, which are electrons, moving from the negative cathode to the positive anode, from the left to the right. And what is actually seen in the experiment, you show the next slide.
Yeah, so actually what we're going to do next is we're going to think about this screen here and think about what we would expect to see, which would be like little balls of electrons moving down the tube. We're going to show what the real experiment shows now, okay?
Of course, wonderful. Go ahead.
This is the tube, and then on the left-hand side, we've got the cathode. On the right-hand side.
Let it run, let it run.
Okay.
Yes, you see on the left side there is a cathode, and stop here, and you can clearly see the light rings spinning around their axis, around the axis which is connecting a cathode with anode. And there are no balls, there are no spheres, there are no electrons as they imagine them. Obviously, there are light rings spinning fast from the cathode to the anode. But there are some details, we can explain that later, but for now, it's enough to see how scientists are having in front of their very eyes light rings spinning, and they are interpreting that on a different way of electrons and everything else what cannot be seen even. Move a little bit more of this, because they should see it. Yeah, you see. Wonderful, enough. It's enough. Yeah. It's enough for everybody, but there are plenty of these measurements and everybody can find and see it, and those who are working in laboratories. I have worked in laboratory for many years, and I know that. So the challenge is here.
So this is a new one, by the way. This is a new one that you know. This is another video that we pinched from YouTube, which is
that's wonderful.
We're having another look at the cathode, which is emitting the.
That's fine. That's fine. You can see the light rings. Yeah.
So just to show that it's not an isolated incident, there are many experiments going on like this, which are clearly proving.
Okay, you can find take this German scientist also very nice pictures of the light ring spinning in front of his eyes, and himself talking about what he is hypnotized with this black space, bright space, and so on. That's all. And here, look, that's wonderful picture. All light rings stuck on that axis between cathode and anode, and spinning around that axis at the angle of 90 degrees. And that is what electric current is: a light rings spinning around the conductive wire, if it is about wire, or here in the evacuated in the gas discharge phenomena.
Yeah. Is there a relationship between this and radiation fields?
Of course. When we understand properly the concept of atom, particle, and cell, then we can properly also explain the radiation. But there are other measurements which confirm clearly that the cell is not that what is believed, and I please you to place now that measurement of the red blood cells, showing also light rings with a centering 0 point, black point, or black hole, how they call it.
Okay, so we've just seen a demonstration of the light rings that are moving down the tube, and we want to bring that into a real context. So to bring that into a real context and give you a real live example of how that replicates in our bodies, we're going to show you this. So I'll hand over to Laki to explain what this is.
Yeah, this is a recording of the red blood cells, microscope recording with a high resolution, and obviously we see light rings like a donuts, like a torus with a black hole in the middle. And there is one beautiful measurements also confirming that the electric potential in the cell is increasing radially from the center to the outward. Right. So that in the very center, it is expected that the electric potential is the zero, and we call it the 0 point, as you can see on the picture, right? And in the middle is that 0 point, which is in the geometric center of that light ring, if that cell is absolutely balanced.
So what we're saying is that blood cells are actually light rings, similar to the electrical current that we just saw passing through the tube.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, but from that comes a concept, right? Concept of matter. All matter is made of light rings.
Yeah.
Spinning about centering 0 point, which is the source of energy, and from which light rings are borrowing energy to move, to spin.
Right.
And that is totally new and totally total breakthrough in the science to understand the real nature of the matter, because matter is made of light, light rings, centered by the source, creator of those rings, which is the source of power, source of energy, intelligent source of energy.
Wow. So yeah, if I was to summarize what we're looking at here and what we've just proven in that experiment, where one person thought that it was electrons moving down a tube, but actually we've shown that it's light rings moving down a tube. And we've then shown how those light rings also inside our body, and therefore how everything in the universe is made of light rings.
Because scientists found also the black holes in the center of the galaxy.
Right.
And they have confirmed here the black holes in the middle of the atoms and cells. And so we can conclude that generally there is only one way of creation in the whole material universe, that is everything made of light rings, small or big. And the only difference is difference in volume.
Wow. Yeah.
And the same laws are for the micro or for the micro.
Right.
And that is totally opposite from that what is believed in the science. But this is a small introduction for all those who are open-minded and who are open for truth to think about it, and then we will guide them later through measurements, confirmation of this, because this all can be also experimentally confirmed and measured and proved, and I have done it, and I will share gladly with them all, because I love science. I love their potential, huge potential to make some new civilization, because they are restricted only with the wrong concept. They can do wonderful things experimentally and do wonderful things who are working wonders, but they are limited with wrong concepts. And with the right concept, they would make in 1 decade some new civilization of the happy people and amazing technological progress.
Absolutely. You know, and that's what's fascinating is what potential this unlocks once we know the truth about creation itself. And obviously we've been working together on a solution for the massive amount of radiation in our lives, which we can prove actually has a disruptive influence on the balance of the cells that we see in this picture. So it actually disrupts the balance of all of the healthy cells. So yeah, just to sort of come back to that, we've put a little box of text on the right, which is just the very basic concepts of our true concept of the atom, just as an introduction. But obviously we can deep dive a lot into this. There's a whole book that's coming out with experiments and proofs and everything else. So this is just an introduction. The 0 point is the still magnetic field, so still magnetic point at the center. of each light ring. It has 0 electrical potential, and we've measured that as well. In a healthy cell, for example, it's aligned to the geometric center of the torus field, or the donut, as it looks like here. All magnetic points within each cell or atom are all interconnected, and we can call that the God field, because it's the source of all life, of all electrical potential expressed as matter or life. And crucially, the 0 point has awareness.
That is central point. That is the essence, because it opens unbelievable and amazing door for new creation, conscious creation without electricity. Because that point responds to the human intent, conscious intent, and fulfills amazing things for which no wires and no hardware is needed. Very little and very simple. So in my opinion, that what we have done is a first step to the creation of the civilization without electricity. Understanding this basic thing is the base for it.
But it will require a lot of deprogramming for people to understand that there could be a replacement for electricity. But that is so exciting in itself. You know, we're going down a very dangerous road with electricity, and specifically with radiation fields from electricity. Yes. And now is the time to really understand the truth that can set us free and take us on a path whereby we create things in harmony with the earth and in harmony with our own bodies, right?
Absolutely.
So just to sort of cover the light rings aspect as well, because that's part of the whole true concept of the atom. We know that the light rings are spinning light rings. They have the illusion of stillness in these photos, but they're actually moving rapidly, making and discharging themselves. And this is electrical current. It has a torus shape, as you can see, and that torus shape looks perfectly balanced in a healthy cell, but can lose its balance if it's compromised by, for example, radiation fields. And these spinning light rings borrow power from the still magnetic point, the still 0 point in the middle. And then can you talk a little bit about the two phases that the light ring goes through, the compression and the expansion? Talk a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, of course. This is electric universe where everything is made of compression expansion sequences. And the only difference between a small atom and a huge galaxy is that one compression expansion frequency takes like a few milliseconds or microseconds by an atom, whereas by a galaxy that are billions of years.
Right.
And the same principle, absolutely. So the creation is first of all is a mental process, is a process of imagination. And the light rings are imagined, and they compress huge volume of space into the small volume of matter, and then expand that small volume of matter again back into the space. And that sequence of compression expansion is everywhere in the universe, and every piece of matter has its own frequency of the compression expansion. So that frequency of an atom, they are all different, of course, many, but roughly is a few billions gigahertz or 100 gigahertz, whereas in galaxy billions of years.
Wow.
One expansion, compression expansion, takes billions of years on the level of the universe. And when we know this, and when we know the true nature of electricity, compression expansion, we can easily explain that gas discharge phenomena, these cells and particles and everything else, explain what radiation is and why radiation is imbalanced, why imbalanced radiation is causing imbalanced cells or diseases, and how it happens, and how we can consciously prevent it, knowing how to communicate and address this conscious still 0 point and bring it that everything in balance.
Fascinating. So, I mean, that is such a positive message.
Of course.
Fantastic. So, I mean, I just want to summarize that as well by saying that obviously everything that you've just spoken about is the process that's happening in our cells, in our bodies, right? You know, every single cell, which we've seen a picture of on this screen right now, magnified, obviously, every single one of our cells is making itself, compressing itself into matter, and then discharging itself into the ether in rapid succession. So it's making, discharging, which is fascinating. That's new truth that we can really explore, and it, you know, for me, it changes everything. Fantastic. So just to summarize, what we saw was kind of light rings moving down the tube. And that's based on the concepts that we've just explained, which is ultimately that everything follows a certain rhythmic balanced interchange between compression of light rings and then discharge or expansion of light rings.
Wonderful.
And what we didn't see is this. We did not see that. We did not see electrons moving down a tube. So we didn't see that. So what we're saying basically is this model correct? And I think
incorrect.
Invalid.
And you could place here the measurements of DuPont company from Chicago some 30 years ago, where they have magnified atom of tungsten 2,700,000 times, 700,000 times, 2.7 million times. And then they found hexagonal structure with a black space in the middle. No protons, no neutrons, no nucleus. And that is also wonderful confirmation by measurements that this model is actually incorrect.
Wow.
And we have correct model now, and can work and make a wonder with that. And my desire is to wake up all the scientific community and to dehypnotize them, to let them work with a proper concept and make a wonderful and imaginable progress.
Fantastic. What a great message.
Such a joy.
Yeah. So that's a great place to leave it. Thank you so much, Laki. And the last thing I wanted to say is that we have a product which you put on your mobile phone and your Wi-Fi router and everything else, and it balances the radiation field. It's based on our true understanding of what radiation really is, which you can find on our website, which is www.omniaradiationbalancer.com. And also, some really good news is that we are setting up a membership site where you can learn all about Laki's science and the new concepts and the potential that that's going to bring forward. We are creating lots of new products with this new unit of energy called the Deca, which we're going to cover in another video. But the Deca is a new unit of energy which allows us to replace electricity altogether. So we have a next product, which is the temperature control unit, which is an aircon unit which doesn't require electricity and doesn't require a battery. So all of these things are fascinating. If you want to come on this journey with us and be the first in the membership group, then please send an email to hello@omnia, OMNIA, balance.life. That's hello@omniabalance.life. So Laki, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing all your knowledge.
Shared with love and joy, as always. All the love for my love for all soul beings, which are we human beings, my brothers and sisters. We have the same Father, and we are all brothers and sisters.
Amazing.
We are one.
Brilliant. Okay.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you.